time to talk some shit on the Powell Movement.
Welcome to the Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and this week I'm recording from the North Woods of Wisconsin, 3 Lakes to be exact. I'm here for the wedding of my good friends Mick and Alyssa. They are now known as the Seamans. She took his last name this weekend, and it was loads of fun. You could see it on everyone's faces. It was an amazing wedding, and I must have made about 300 Seaman jokes. It was a mouthful. So congratulations, Mick and Alyssa. It was a wonderful time in Wisconsin. On the show this week, we're starting up with some winter episodes, but don't worry, summer is not done. I still have a couple more episodes. We just couldn't fit them in. And this week's guest is a skier, Ahmet Dadali, who is outspoken, he's entertaining, he marches to the beat of his own drummer, and he's totally different than almost anybody else in the ski industry, and it makes for an amazing podcast. Before we get into the show, I want to ask you to please follow me on Instagram at The Powell Movement, share my posts on Facebook, and email me if you have a guest you would like, or if you just have something to share. I'd love to hear from you. Finally, I want to thank my sponsors. They are Evo Rescue Water, and I really wish I had a rescue water this morning. It is going to be a long drive to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. They make the show happen. Please check them out. Now, let's talk to Ahmet Dadali.
I just fucking got out of the water. I'm actually down in San Diego, man, so yeah, I just got out of the water right in time, man. I didn't realize what time it was, so that was fucking perfect.
So you're getting ready to go to Indonesia tomorrow?
Actually on Friday, man. I thought it was today for like a week. So I was scrambling around all day, man. Yesterday, fucking flipping my lid, going all over the place. And then I realized at like 8 p.m. last night that I still have 3 more days. So I got a couple more days before I take off.
Man, I can understand doing that one day, but a 3-day lapse right there. It's like you've bought yourself time to get in the water, I guess, and go surf.
I was at a buddy's wedding for a few days, so I think I got a little bit of brain damage, man, and spaced out 3 days. So I just gained myself 3 extra days out here.
Well, I'm not going to attribute the brain damage to being at a wedding because I'm sure there's many other ways you've had that. But in terms of going to Indonesia, you've been before, right?
Yeah, I went to Bali last year for like 5 weeks and definitely wanted to go back, man. I mean, it's beautiful out there. I love surfing and exploring around, and Bali's just a little bit busy, so we're going to go check out the other islands, get away from a bunch of people, and go explore what it really is, you know?
Yeah, and to go for 5 weeks, I mean, that sounds like an amazing vacation. I wish I could go somewhere for 5 weeks. How much do you have to put aside during the year to know that you're going on vacation for 5 weeks and you got to eat?
Powell, I'm a bum, man. It doesn't take too much, dude. I'm pretty simplistic. You know, it's $5 a night for a hostel. That's $150 a month, right?
Okay.
And then the food, you know, I'm just eating freaking rice and eggs. I forget what they call it now, man. Nasi or goreng or something like that, but it's just simple food. It costs like $1 for dinner, you know, breakfast, lunch, whatever. Yeah, you're spending less over there than you are in the U.S. So you're actually saving money going on these trips is how I see it. So I get away for a little while, I save some money, I see some cool stuff, you know?
$10 a day in food and lodging, and then probably a couple bucks a day, I would think, on beers, but people are probably buying you them as well. And then what other things are you doing for nightlife? I'm sure you're surfing all day, but what are you doing at night?
Checking out the bars a little bit, you know, checking out the honeys, dude. There's always some little cuties running around those parts. So you got to prowl around, you know, see the surroundings. And, you know, I'm there to surf, you know, so I'm kind of down out early, up early, right in the water all day. You go hit up the happy hour and then call it a good day, you know. If something comes along the way, something comes along the way. Little cutie around the way. You might be up a little bit longer, but that's about what my nightlife is over there.
Well, I heard there were some entertaining shows that maybe involved birds and ping pong balls or something like that over there.
That's Thailand, man. And Thailand's a little bit different in that nightlife scene. That's a crazy one. I've seen stuff happening that I wish I could take back and never see again. And it definitely it blew my mind what women can do. My jaw was dropped to the floor with some of those acts, man. Should we get into anything?
No, I don't think we need to get into it. in detail, but I think it should be noted that it's not just a women thing. I think you can go to men's shows as well and see the exact same thing. So it's an equal playing field there, but they have some interesting things that I've never seen because I've never been there, but some that have scarred you for life.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. Scarred for life would be kind of an understatement in a way. I got a little PTSD off of some of the things I've seen. Oh, but it's a pretty interesting place, man. And all of Asia is really cool. I spent a little time traveling around over there, not enough, but I went to Vietnam, we did Cambodia, Thailand, and then ended it off in Indonesia. So it was a fun trip. It was like 2 months in all, and we've seen a lot of things. And the birds and the fish were just a little piece of the puzzle, man.
Okay, well, we're not going to go into the birds and the fish, but we are going to talk about you having a different life than most skiers growing up, because you grew up in a family where your dad's from Turkey and your mom, I believe, is from the U.S., maybe New York. Are you growing up in like a Turkish household? Is there a different language being spoken at home?
My dad wasn't the best at teaching, man. He was actually one of the worst at teaching things. So we never learned Turkish ourselves. We picked up little things here and there, We got sentences here and there, but anytime he had friends around, yeah, they'd be talking a lot of Turkish. But it was a different household, The way my father was raised is definitely different than your typical American lifestyle. And every time my friends came over, they would see that. We'd be working all day, he's on the grind all the time. And he's a hard-working, he's got that Turkish ethic, man, where they just hands dirty, fixing up everything, making life work. So every time my buddies would come to the house, man, we'd be chopping up wood all day and never getting to play, man. So they didn't want to come over that often.
I had a friend like that too. And yeah, we didn't want to go to his house either.
Yeah, exactly.
And you grew up, speaking of your house, it's New York, so the big city, but actually you grew up in like a small shit town in the middle of nowhere.
That's right, man. Yep. Famous for heroin. It's a pretty shitty town, but it was actually, I can't say it's fully shitty, We had a very interesting dynamic going on over there. We had the super conservative, really hillbilly, crazy different conservative people. And then we had really, really hippie, outgoing, life living type of people as well, So it was a really interesting upbringing with just that going on. We had a lot of art around there, tons of music. And then we had hillbillies that were fucking sheep, man. I'm not even kidding. Guy got arrested for it, not too far down the road from us. So yeah, that's kind of where we grew up. And a lot of the people that came out of our school, half of them have moved on. They go all around the world to different countries, to different states, and really value the travel and opening up their own eyes. And then the other half stays in Naples, and a lot of them get into some drugs and problems and don't ever get out of there. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting little spot, man. It's definitely not the city, but it's no less hard than the city, I guess,
Well, speaking of less hard, what kind of sheep do you have around there?
Oh, man, I guess just your typical sheep, right? How many different types of sheep are there?
I don't know. That sheep part stuck out in my head.
I think he found his white sheep and he was stoked on the white sheep, and that's what he had. Sure, if it was a black sheep, his conservative ass probably wouldn't have messed with it.
And you fit somewhere in the middle in that town because you're not a hillbilly. You're like the brown dude maybe in that town that's the hip-hop kid. And do you experience racism in that town from the hillbilly segment of people?
Surprisingly, not so much, man. I blended in. I was like, I guess you can say, when you go to school and you got that one black kid and everybody wants to be friends with that one black kid, right?
Yeah.
In some of these small towns, I'm kind of that, I'm the brown kid, a little different. Everybody was still friends with and all that. You would hear things from time to time, but mellow. It wasn't ever a big deal. I've seen it more outside of the town that I grew up in, and I see it more from traveling around in the Midwest, stopping at gas stations. You get people that look at you all the time, give you a weird look, and I've seen it from cops. I've had different run-ins with cops where you can tell they don't like you.
Yeah, and I would think with you, once 9/11 hit, that had to put another target, and that's not a good word for it.
Oh, for sure. Another target, man.
Once that happened, everybody started reading your name on paper. They probably assumed something about you before they even saw you, and then they saw you and judged you again.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened. That's kind of typical of people's reactions on names, faces, colors, creeds, everything, right? They see a guy named Tyrone, they judge him off the bat. They see a Muslim named Ahmet, they're going to get judged off the bat. So yeah, it's a sad thing that happens, but I don't see too much from it. And actually, what's kind of funny is, you go into airports sometimes, and I feel like I'm getting like the reverse side of things, where I can walk through the security lines and they just let me go all of a sudden, where I look a little different. I got this name, and then they pull over the next whitest guy they can find and bring him in and pat him down. So they got like that little passive thing where they're like, okay, got to let this guy pass in case anybody's got their iPhones out. I'll make up for it with patting down this white guy. You know what I mean?
I mean, I hear you, but when I think about just general society, I feel like you're lucky because most people do feel targeted, it seems like, if they are not like a white person.
Yeah.
But that's our fucked up society.
Sometimes, not so bad though, I guess is all it is. Sometimes, you can see it. It just depends state to state, But a lot of the places we're around, and luckily I'm involved in all these mountain sports, and surfing and all this stuff where people are a lot more open-minded. If I was going inland, like inland California and Midwest style and being out there, you would definitely get a bit more. And actually, I'll get into little talks with families. They turn out being very conservative Christian or something, and then you'll start to see that kind of thing turn, and have a little different action. But, you say your name and all of a sudden, yeah, things change a little bit.
And are you religious at all? Or were you growing up?
Yeah, growing up, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say I'm going to the mosque all the time and I abide by everything. But there's little things that I like. I nitpick.
Do you fast when you need to fast?
Yeah, I do.
Is that Ramadan?
Yeah.
That's a serious thing. That's like 30 days or something like that.
It's 30 days, and you eat breakfast before the sun comes up. It's about an hour before the sun even comes up. In the summertime, that could be like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And then you eat when the sun goes back down. So after it's fully down, you have dinner again. And I feel like it's really good for your whole system anyway. It kind of cleans you out and it gets your metabolism going. It's not so bad. Drinking water is a pain in the ass, man. You're not allowed to drink water the whole time too, so that gets a little heavy. And then at the end, we actually we pay alms to the poor. So that's one of the best things out of it. I feel like is this is a religion where people are like give money straight to the poor people and helping people out and sacrificing animals for people to be able to eat and everything. So like I said, there's things that I attach myself to, and that's definitely like one of the cool things.
Well, I can't imagine not eating during the day. My religion, I'm supposed to fast for I think it's 18 hours, and I always have trouble doing it. But it's amazing that you're able to do that. So in high school, what kind of kid are you? Because I've met you a few times. You kind of come off to me as maybe, I'll say you have a opinionated, maybe fuck authority, don't tell me what to do, but I'll work with you kind of person. And that's just my assumptions. But what kind of kid are you in high school?
You nailed it. Fuck authority, dude. That's definitely how I was, how I still am. I have a very big issue with people that gather their own idea of authority and think they can be over somebody else without proving that they should be in any kind of way, And they should have respect before they gain that respect from other people just because of the position they're in. I think that's a complete falsity of society. So I was a punk in high school for sure, man. As you can probably imagine with that little complex, the authority complex that I have.
Mouthing off to a lot of adults?
I would definitely mouth off to teachers, to the principal, to whoever. We'd get in little, definitely tussles. I've been kicked out of class a few times. I never got suspended, so couldn't have done that bad. But there's a few times. I'll tell you a story, might as well, about a school teacher. And this is a mellow one, but it just pops into my mind, She's a computer teacher. She's going around the classroom, and she's asking everybody, what are you going to do? Where are you going to college next year? So everybody tells where they're going to college or what they're going to do, and she gets to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm moving out to Mammoth, California. I'm going to be a ski bum, I'm going to go out there, probably be a janitor or whatever can pay the bills, and just ski, And she tells me, well, that's good. You're not going to make it anywhere in life doing that. Something along those lines. So I was like, I was hot-headed, I was like, fuck you. You're a school teacher, or you're a computer teacher. Who are you to, tell me where I'm going to be in life and all that? So yeah, straight out of the classroom, right to the principal, obviously, dropping that line to her. She didn't dig that, man. So it's one of the little things, but I definitely got in a lot of little beefs with the principals and some of the teachers. But like you said, if there's the respect being shown, I absolutely love that. And I had teachers growing up that I'm still really good friends with to this day that respected the students they had. And, it all comes back around.
And I'm going to just guess maybe you didn't have the most school spirit or played any team sports for the school?
No, I play soccer, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I play soccer. I went to the school dances, dude. I danced with the girls. I did prom. I wasn't like an outcast or nothing. I did all that stuff, but I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, Naples is the shit. Yeah, woo. But I definitely played soccer. That was the one non-conflicting sport with the wintertime, and I loved it.
What did you look like at this point? If I look at you today, I would say you're definitely wearing clothing that is very baggy, and your jacket is never zipped, and that's just kind of your trademark. But back then, what were you, like a little Wu-Tang kid? What did you look like in high school?
That was it, bro. I was this tiny little dude, man, smaller than I am now. I'm like 5'7", 5'8" on a good day, maybe after seeing a chiropractor. But I was tiny, man. I was like 5'3" maybe through high school. Like just a short little dude and baggy clothes, man. And I just listened, first album I ever had was Tupac, Me Against the World. I found that one when I was like 9 or something, man. Never stopped playing that. Found Eminem when I was like 10. Slim Shady LP, started bumping that. So going into 7th grade, all of a sudden, Marshall Mathers LP came out, so I got that Eminem. I was straight up into hip hop from the beginning. Then all the Nas albums and everything like that. So yeah, I was definitely wearing baggy stuff, maybe a little chain on, open hoodie at that time. If I had a zipped up hoodie, it'd be unzipped for sure. So it's basically the same thing. East Coast kid, man.
East Coast kid whose first album was Tupac.
Go figure.
Yeah, who knew? But we're going to talk about skiing in a minute. Before we do that, I'm going to jump into my sponsors. And my first sponsor is Evo. And they are hands down the best retail location in the country for bike, skate, wake, surf, lifestyle, and more. And they have everything you could possibly want for your adventure. I have personally shopped at Evo since they opened because no one comes close to the service they offer and the vibe they create. Their stores in Denver, Seattle, and Portland are some of the best retail experiences you'll find. And if you can't make it to a store, well, Evo.com has all the brands, all the products, and a low price guarantee, free shipping on orders over $50, and a no-hassle return policy. For listening to the show, they're going to give you 10% off your entire order. If you're in-store, mention the code TPM10 to your cashier. And if you're online, use the code TPM10, that's all one word with capital letters, and you'll get that 10% off. My next sponsor is Rescue Water. And now that it's summer, hydrating is more important than ever. And with Rescue Water, it's all about proactive recovery. You're probably asking yourself, what does proactive recovery even mean? Well, think of it like this. If you really need energy, you skip the coffee and go straight to an energy drink. It's a similar principle with Rescue Water. When you really need to hydrate, like when you get off the trail, out of the skate park, done at the gym, or with your run, skip the traditional sports drink and try a Rescue Water. It's science and it works. And while this is an advertisement, I really do drink Rescue Water at the end of big nights. And for me, hangovers are a thing of the past. If you've been listening to the podcast and haven't tried a Rescue Water yet, do me a favor and buy one next time you're at the store. It will make you a believer, and you can thank me later. If you don't want to go to the store, check out rescuewater.com, that's RESQ water.com, and save 20% on a 12-pack case with the code RESQWaterTPM, that is all one word. Rescue Water is also available on Amazon. My final sponsor is the 10 Barrel Brewery out of Bend, Oregon. There are so many things I can say about 10 Barrel. But first and foremost, they have amazing beer. My personal favorite is the Out of Office Pilsner, but a close second is the wildly popular pub beer. While 10 Barrel is all about beer, their roots are in action sports, and they put their money where their heart is. And you can see that in the athletes and events they sponsor, but most importantly, this podcast. Support the beer that supports action sports, the 10 Barrel Brewery. Find out more about the beers and events over at 10barrel.com. Those are my sponsors. Now we'll get back into it. And you get into skiing. You live like 3 miles from Bristol Mountain, which is in the middle of Nowheresville, USA. And is skiing pretty much like the babysitter for you and your brother Giray?
That was the babysitter. Absolutely, man. Anybody on the East Coast knows most of the mountains have night skiing, which is one of the best parts about it. So unlike the West, when we get done with school, we can go straight to the ski mountain and ski from 3:30, 4 o'clock till 10. So what we would do, our bus route was right by the ski resort, and they had to stop there to drop off kids at daycare at the ski mountain. So we had a note that we would be able to get dropped off every day. We went there, and we'd have all of our ski gear in a locker over there and just be skiing all day. So as you can imagine, doing homework wasn't too easy. We'd be at the mountain day and night. That was our life, man. Straight through and through. Our upbringing was a little bit different, like you said. Parents didn't get along too well when we were growing up. It was a little tough in the household, man. So it was definitely good to get away and have something like skiing for me and my little brother to let go of everything and not think of a thing and, be in the zone. That's what it was to us. Getting away from little problems, and being able to find something that we just have joy in. That saved our lives for sure, man.
Well, it gave you a path because I think at about 13 is when you meet Will Wessam. And then I think you meet Andy Parry through Will Wessam. And that becomes the core of your growing up, I feel like. Who is the crew that you're skiing with in those early days?
We had a fat crew. I can't believe the people that came out of Bristol Mountain. It still bewilders me that all these guys that are so good today came from this mountain. But do you remember Tim Russell by any chance?
I do remember Tim. He used to ski for Vocal, I believe, and he
did
all the contests back in the day from a shit town in New York.
He was from our shit town in New York.
Okay.
The next town over, but he skied Bristol, right? So he was the badass dude at the ski mountain. He was about 4 years older than us, maybe, and we were taken right underneath his wing. So we got this older dude that's crushing it on skis. I mean, he just skied moguls like crazy, so he's a great bump skier. He's throwing 7 off these just raggedy-ass little jumps while they were bumps in the jumps, or jumps in the bumps that were made out of bumps, right? And, I mean, that guy was crushing it. So he was like our idol. We looked up to him, and he let us ski with him all the time and all these older boys. So he came out of our ski mountain first. And then once he left, we ran into Will Wesson, Andy Parry, all those guys, Eric Olson, Rawson Bergia, Tyler Sullivan back in the day, Brendan Gooding, just all these dudes that rip fast, rip hard, and rip every day. So we had a killer little crew. And as you could probably imagine with what you said about the authority thing, we were little punks on the ski mountain too. So the ski patrol, the yellow jackets, all of them wanted our blood, man. We'd build jumps all over the mountain, do whatever we wanted to, and just kind of run it like it was ours. We were little assholes, man. But it was a hell of a crew, and we picked up cameras, started filming each other, and that's where the magic really started happening, I guess. We had Ross that was really good at editing and being a nerd on the computer, so he crushed all that stuff. Will was always good at being organized and having all the camera gear that we needed, and we all blended up and made some little movies and cool edits and all that kind of stuff.
And are you guys hanging out in the summertime too? Riding BMX bikes, skateboards, rollerblades, and...
We'd ride skis, man. This is my claim to fame with some stuff right here. Our claim to fame, the I Hate New York crew. We had the best summer setups around. People copied how we built those summer setups. So we just had like badass material that we came up with using first and built these pretty intricate little summer things, summer rails with nice in runs and everything like that. So we really didn't stop skiing in the summertime, man. We just kept hitting rails and doing tricks and filming everything. Besides that, we rollerbladed a little bit. Can't say I was ever nasty at it or anything, but we definitely rollerbladed, man. We'd bust out jumps into the ponds, take the rollerblades into the ponds and just bust a bunch of tricks,
Those were your water ramps?
Yeah, our own little ghetto-ass water ramps into our ponds.
Will's dad played a big part in it. I believe he was a journalist or something like that, where he started getting footage of you guys in Will's backyard setup that in those days, it was the early New Schoolers days, and you guys made such a big impact because of the content that you were able to create in a new medium, because people weren't able to put up content and show what they were doing until the New Schoolers of the world came around.
Absolutely.
You had Will's dad there from the beginning supporting it all. I think that you guys had some setup stuff at your house as well. I mean, that helped change the game for all of you, right?
It absolutely did, man. We all had a setup in our backyards. Andy had a dope one. Will had really good stuff. His father was always behind what we did. he would take us to some of the competitions. And like you said, he was a journalist, so he would write articles about us in the newspaper, the whole crew and everything. And then my father, actually, he was a construction worker. So he had a bunch of metal all the time and welded us up a bunch of rails, man. So we had really badass rails. When our ski mountain didn't have a park, we were building that park, So if you ask anybody from New York, they've driven by my house, man, and they've seen the rails across the road. It's pretty cool stuff. So we all had our different things, and putting together that stuff on there. And I guess that is kind of the claim to fame, being able to put out these edits in our backyards with so much cool stuff going on. We were lucky, I guess, that we all found each other and put that stuff together, because our mountains suck, man. So with the motivation we had, we built everything. And then what we couldn't build, we'd go to the streets and hit rails, because we didn't have that perfect park. So let's go find that double king in the streets. Let's go find that long down rail in the streets. Let's go drop this in the streets because we don't have jump or whatever, So that's how we kind of filtered in the whole side of street skiing.
Before we start talking about street skiing, one more thing about your resort or your home mountain per se. Were you the type of kid that got in fights on the hill? Do you ever fight anybody in ski boots?
Yeah, I did. Don't anymore, man. I was a kid, dude. We had, like I said, probably a different upbringing, man. So we were a little bit tougher, a little bit meaner, a little bit more of assholes. And I definitely got kicked out of the resort for hitting a kid and missed the whole season, and actually spent the whole season in my backyard just hitting the rails on my own, man, because everybody's at the ski mountain. So yeah, we did, man. I'm not going to say it was a cool thing to do, and I'm definitely not going to tell any kids they should get in fights in the ski mountain. It's not a good way to lose a pass and not a good way to represent yourself, but we were a bit meaner, man.
Yeah, well, how old are you now?
When I did that, I was 16.
And today you are?
Oh, I'm 30. So I've lived a couple years.
Yeah, once you get to be 30, you can realize that some of the stuff you did when you were 16 was dumb.
You would hope so.
Some of the things you were doing at 16, I would think you're a total grom in the ski world at this point, and it totally takes over everything that's going on in your life. Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely, man. Skiing was everything for us. That was what we breathed, We had every Freeze magazine. We had every VHS that came out at the time. That's all we wanted to watch, all we wanted to talk about, all we wanted to do. I remember me and my little brother shared the same room, right? And there wasn't a spot on the wall in our room that wasn't covered with a ski poster or a ski picture.
Sharing that room, at some point you graduate high school, and I don't think there's college in your future. I think you move right out west and have to almost abandon your brother for a couple years. What's your process from high school? What do you do right afterwards?
Yeah, I got done with high school, and it was right away, I'm going to move out. It was Mammoth, California at first, and then one of my friends bailed out on me. Had to find a new spot, and I went to Salt Lake City, Utah. So I dipped on out. This was in 2006. My mom was fully stoked on the idea. She supported our skiing 110%. She was at all the competitions she could come to. She didn't know what was going on, but she loved it. So she did not mind me not going to college, She saw how much we loved this thing and supported it. My father, man, he did not like that idea. I told him after I graduated high school, it wasn't something that I told him a long time ago. We weren't that close to where you can talk about this kind of stuff. So right after high school, when I finally told him, he flipped, man. And he didn't want to talk to me for a while, So I moved right out west, got away, and the East Coast was such a tight-knit group back then. Everybody moved out to Utah. So we just had this huge crew out in Utah that I already previously knew from the competitions. And it was just this unreal scene back then, man. Skiing Park City and Brighton. And there's just the biggest mobs of homies all over the place. 4x9s out there. All the New Hampshire boys are out there. So I spent that full season out there, and I had no money at all. I was eating macaroni and cheese.
Has sponsorship happened to you already? Are you already getting some money from ski companies?
No, I'm not getting any money, man. I was hooked up with Ninth Word. They were giving me some skis back on the East. Dynastar before that. Yeah, me and my little brother got really lucky when we were younger. We had all these guys that kind of helped us through all these reps. So we had a Dynastar guy, Bill. He came through big time for us and gave us skis basically from the time we were 12 years old till the time we were 16, 17. So our parents didn't have to buy skis anymore. Our mom had a job at the ski resort, so we got free passes and everything. So we had that going. And then I got hooked up with Ninth Ward, but just skis. I was supposed to get some money for winning competitions, all that bonus incentive. Well, I definitely never saw a penny of that.
We're talking about Ninth Ward here.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Right.
So I met up with Tim Russell when I moved out west, and I had no more Ninth Ward skis. They were all broken. So he got me on Vocal. In the first year, they ended up giving me a little travel budget, not on a contract, just hooked me up. And right from there, the next year, they were giving me a little bit more money and a little bit more money and a little bit more. So they've been a supporter for a long, long time. That would be 12 years now I've been having those guys around. Yeah, so that's what I had the first year, was just straight up Vocal.
And, we're not going to talk about your movie parts, it's more about your life. But
okay.
You start with the Meatheads after you're doing stuff with the I Hate New York crew. Then you get to the Meatheads, you work with them a bit. And then it progresses over to Level 1. But I think the biggest year of your life is probably 2010, where you're healthy, you're filming for iTrip, and you end up with Best Male Performer at IF3, Breakthrough Performer, and Best Jib at Powder Awards. I think I even gave you the awards. I think I hosted them that year.
Yeah, I think you did.
How did that impact your life? Because I'm sure it got you more sponsors, it got you more notoriety, and created a lot of opportunities for you. Was it kind of something that was unexpected, and when it happened, you were like, holy shit?
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I heard my name called up over there, man. That was one of the best years of my life, just getting to feel like I put in enough work to get something done like that. But no, it didn't really, I wouldn't say it really opened up a huge amount of doors or anything. It's not like I was getting paid a shit ton more afterwards, but it did give, I don't know, a little validation to my career, I felt like, and that was more for me than anything. It wasn't necessarily that, oh, now I can get these big sponsors, I can get whatever. I was just happy that I put in some work that got that kind of appreciation, and people were happy, and people still talk about it, man, which makes me really stoked on that,
It gives you the validation. But when I look at your crew, the I Hate New York crew, I mean, at the time, the most progressive ski crew this side of 4x9 and Stepped, I would say, in terms of people doing something different. But you guys are the East Coast guys who don't get as much respect because you're the East Coast guys, I would think. And do you feel that when you're talking to sponsors and stuff, that, maybe that your segment of skiing is selling to 8 to 25-year-olds and not to the older breadwinners of the family, and they don't treat you with as much respect or give you as much money? Did you ever find that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they didn't give us as much respect necessarily. All the sponsors I've dealt with, they thought it was badass. All the different TMs, they love what we were doing. But definitely you do not get paid as much. That's for sure, as a lot of the big mountain riders. And simply put, like you said, it's because we're not selling to those breadwinners, We're not hitting that upper echelon that's buying all that stuff. We're more in that core type of zone that's typically younger, and not selling as much as those other ones. So I understand it, it makes sense. But yeah, we definitely don't get paid nearly as much, man. I'll tell you that much.
How do you feel about the whole pay thing? Because if you look at skiers and how they get paid, the number one person in skiing who's going to get paid is the World Cup racer who's the best. They're going to make more than anybody else. To me, I still don't understand it, but I've never lived in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, you see how much those skis cost, dude?
I don't know anyone buying a pair of race skis.
I don't either, man. But I don't really hang around racers. But you go around like all these different mountains, and there are a lot of racers. I think it's bullshit. I mean, I'm definitely not into it. I don't think they should be getting paid that much money. I think what we're doing right now, the whole free skiing side of things, is introducing a shit ton of kids into skiing, period, And that's all around Europe, and that's all around the U.S. That is the cool thing. It does bum me out that you hear every single year that companies are making less and less, and free skiing doesn't make that much money. I just don't see it. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but when I look around the mountain, I see a hell of a lot of twin tips. And like you said, you don't really see that many race skis. So it is kind of an uneven little balance right there.
Who's the big racer on Vocal?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, we'll say Michaela Miller, because I think that takes the best first name of one of our women and the best last name of one of our men. And you have that athlete, and that one athlete makes probably 10 times what the whole free ski program and budget makes for the brand, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the Olympians, which I love what they're doing as well. But I will say from a team management perspective, you have to have Olympians on your program, and hopefully they're authentic and fit your brand, but some brands don't even care. But you have to pay these guys because they are the world-class, like full-on athletes, where they need 10 pairs of perfectly tuned skis to do what they're doing, where in your world you need 3 pairs of broken skis and you can still make it happen.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the Olympic side of the sport?
I mean, what gets me with the Olympics is not the imbalance of how much athletes are getting paid or, what the guys that are doing it get as far as, anything from sponsors. That's not really the big beef with me. And a lot of people actually misconceive what I try to say with this whole competition stuff. I feel like a lot of people think that I am fully against competitions and competitive skiers, period, which is simply not the truth. I just think the people in control of competitions and this kind of stuff are money suckers. I mean, plain and simple. I'm not worried about how much the athlete is making. I'm worried about how much those foundations are making. When you got FIS rolling in these $5,000 dinner plates and kids aren't winning competitions that FIS is throwing, all they're getting is these damn points. That's a problem, And then they go on to the Olympics and still these people are making a shit ton of money while a lot of skiers aren't. And even those Olympian skiers that are up in there, I mean, Joss couldn't have a sponsorship after he won Olympics,
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's insane. So I don't think all these guys are just, rolling in the bank, rolling in the dough. I think they're being used and abused. And that's the problem right there, is the using of different skiers. If a skier's making good money, hell yeah, good for him, man. He played it right. But when they start getting screwed over and they get done with the Olympics and now they're just dropped off the teams because the Olympics not going to be for another 4 years and that skier might not even be in the next one, that's kind of the problem, man, is what this Olympics is doing for the future of it all. Just making big companies come in, buy up these different athletes, and then just leave them right on the sidewalk, in the gutter, whatever, after they get done using them.
Well, I feel like Joss is a bad example because with someone like Joss, yes, he won the gold medal, but he'll probably even tell you, he's never going to be the most marketable dude. He's never going to put himself out there and share his opinion. I mean, you'll share an opinion. He's not. He's always going to be vanilla and kind of walk the line, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's only going to get you sponsored for your Olympic year and when you're doing well. But if you have personality to go along with it, those brands that are going to throw people into the ditch, if they don't have a personality, like if Josh was just the most charismatic kid ever, it wouldn't matter if he kept winning or not, as long as he had that medal and they could still market him. I'm just trying to say that if he were more marketable.
You're right.
And there's not that many skiers that are in those Olympic positions that are that marketable. I mean, right now, the biggest one that everyone's jumping on is David Wise, and that's based on his talent. I mean, he's just amazing. I mean, he's not the most he's got long hair, but not the most marketable kid, Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely not a talker. Yeah, I get that. Absolutely. So where are we going with it?
So we're talking about contests, and while you're not the biggest fan of contests, there was a contest in your career that you were a part of, the 2016 Real Ski X Games contest.
Yes, sir.
When you're invited to be part of a contest like the X Games, and in this format, it has to be almost as big as that year in 2010 was for you.
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome. Again, the validation of what we're doing, to see the streets being put on a pedestal finally and get the appreciation it deserves. And not just the appreciation, but just to spread it, to get regular people being able to see what we're doing in the streets, I think was a really cool thing. And that's going to help us being able to hit more street stuff possibly, having more people around the country tune in and see what we're doing out there is this cool little thing. Now, if they see us out in the streets hitting something, they're going to move aside and maybe watch, instead of kicking us out of here because it's dangerous or whatever. That was a big thing for me. And like I said, the misconception, I remember seeing people talking about how, Ahmet is so anti-competition, but when it comes to this, all of a sudden he's in it, but it's like, No, man, like I said, I'm not against competitions. Competitions are necessary in every sport to progress it. It's just the people in control and how they do it. So I do believe X Games has been there basically since the beginning of skiing, free skiing. Yeah, they've been there pretty much since the beginning. Before we were throwing really cool shit, man. Like we were looking pretty crazy back then, and they still were by our sides on everything.
They might have been on ski boarding first. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they did too. Different times, man.
Yep.
But, they've been there by our side the whole time, and they still continue to be there. In the way they throw those competitions, I think they have a lot of respect for the athletes over there. They're really taking care of people. So I think that was a really cool thing to have for us. And to allow me into it was, awesome. And it was pretty crazy filming that stuff, man. We threw down. I think it was still one of the best as far as the competition between each other, all 6 of these athletes. I still think it was the best one to date. Not necessarily edit by edit, but how many of those edits were very competitive with each other.
And if you had to vote for anyone in the 2016 Real Ski, who would you have voted for? And you can't vote for yourself.
Can I?
No, you can't vote for yourself.
Oh, dude, I would have said hands down me, bro. No, JF Fools was insane. I really like JF's. He just went big, man. He sent that. So I think JF would have been up there for me.
Was that the one that LJ had a pretty crazy part in too?
No, LJ was the next year. And LJ's was nasty the next year. It was really crazy.
But he didn't win, I don't believe.
He didn't win. I was a judge on that panel, actually.
Well, the judging sucked that year. And speaking of judges sucking, you were a judge that year. And in terms of your experience with judges in the past, what is your whole thought on it? Do you get frustrated when some dude who probably isn't doing the tricks that you're capable of doing is judging you on those tricks?
It's more like, where the hell did that guy come from? Not if he can do the trick or not, but if he understands that trick because he's been around free skiing long enough. He's been in the scene and around the people long enough. I feel like a lot of the judges that are involved in skiing, and it's getting better now, so it has been changing over the years, but a lot of the judges for a long time were these outside guys where, who the fuck are they? I've never met one of these guys in my life, and none of the people I know have met them either. So how'd they get these positions judging us and judging all these different people, right? Why are they in that position? Why are they getting paid that money to be there when we should be like taking up ex-free skiers, like Steele Spence, he's a great example of the type of people that should be on that panel.
You'll never make anybody happy with judging. Steele Spence was the head of the Olympic judging, and there were a lot of people upset with that judging as well. If you went on New Schoolers, everybody was upset with it.
Oh, everybody's upset on New Schoolers, period.
That's just a part of the game. Another part of your reality is injuries. And it's just part of the life of a pro skier. For you, it's a little different because I don't think you believe in health insurance and you have issues with that. But I think the first one that I know about that was really into your pro career was you were skiing at Brighton and somehow you broke all of your teeth and you weren't going to get them fixed?
Oh, man. Yeah, that one wasn't right in the beginning. That was a few years deep after 2010. I'd say it was 2012 or something. It was crazy. Let me tell you about this injury because I get a lot of weird ones that happen to me that just don't happen to people. So I'm skiing down the hill. Beautiful powder day, man. It was a shit season. So it's one of the first good pow days of the year. And I'm cruising down. I come off this little roller, go not even big, man. I mean, it was just a little roller, but I landed a bomb hole straight on the front side of it and do a quick front flip. Typical little powder front flip.
Yep.
Right to my feet. But as I was doing that front flip, my boots extended all the way down and the ski went straight into my mouth.
Oh.
And it stayed on my feet. And as I did that front flip, it basically slingshotted all my teeth out in the front.
Oh.
Right. Perfect. Just filled in the gap, man, and just flung them all out right with the tip. And it broke my gums in 2 spots.
Oh.
So right in the front and right on the side. So 2 teeth just flew out immediately. Gone. The other 2 teeth were sticking straight out at you. And the gums were straight up at you. Right? So I put my tongue up. I can't feel no teeth in the front. It didn't hurt, and I ski down. I ski past this lift line, man. Everybody's just like, what the fuck? I mean, you just see jaws dropped all over the place in disbelief. I go down to the ski patrol. They're like, holy shit, we can't even touch you, man. We don't know what to do with you. Like, you got to get out of here. Go down to the hospital, So I go down to the hospital in Salt Lake City, and it's Sunday in Salt Lake City. So as you can imagine, it wasn't easy to find a dental surgeon. But they actually grabbed my gums and had to pull it back down into place after a few hours of being set up there. It felt like bones breaking again. You can hear all the sound of that crack, 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 and they got it back down. So I was just missing 2 teeth. The other ones were messed up. And anybody that knows me, man, when I hit my lips, dude, my lips blow up. So I just got 2 huge fat lips. My tongue was bit almost all the way through. My teeth are all messed up, and I was supposed to get on a flight to Austria the next day.
Huh.
So as you can imagine, I didn't fly to Austria the next day. I showed up at the airport, told them I need a new flight, and they just looked at me and were like, no problem, man. Didn't even make me pay. What were we going with on that injury before I went off on the tangent?
That was just one, and
that was one.
That one, you end up at a photo shoot with Under Armour, and while sponsors are notorious for not paying for injuries, it sounds like Under Armour did you a solid and was like, hey, we're going to fix your teeth.
Yeah, man. So I got invited out to a horse race out in Boston, and we would go to the Under Armour owner's ranch ahead of time, right? So I'm out at the ranch. My whole gums, this is a few months later now, and I've been going with 2 teeth missing for a couple months. I look haggard, man. Haggard. And I got a tooth infection that's really bad. So, I mean, I'm just, dude, my lips all blown up. And the co-founder of Under Armour is a mad cool guy, man. His name's Kip. Awesome guy. And he just looks at me. He's like, dude, you got to get that fixed now, man. People die of that kind of stuff, the gum infections. He apparently just watched a commercial about it the day before, so it was all on his mind, luckily. And he sees me over there, and he tells me, go to Salt Lake City, find a good dentist out there, take my credit card, and get it paid for. That is the coolest thing a sponsor could possibly do for you, man. I mean, that guy's the man. And if he didn't do that, I'd probably still be walking around without teeth. Definitely wouldn't get a second look from any girls, that's for sure. Would have been single for a long time. That's
a tough thing to go through life without those teeth, because people judge you right away anyway, and then they see you without teeth and you were just garbage to them.
Yeah, and it's not your back teeth, it's your front teeth. So you definitely look like garbage, man. Yeah, and I didn't have insurance at the time. I don't believe that we should be paying. I think, if we want to go off on insurance, it should be socialized like every other country.
It would make things easier, especially for someone in your predicament who is injured a lot. You've done the knee 3 times.
I've done 1 ACL in the knee and then meniscus problems. Yeah.
That's part of skiing. Everybody has an issue with that.
Typical.
But the one injury that we were talking about at maybe a bar a couple years ago was around the 4th of July a few years back, and you were messing with an axe. And what happened?
Oh, man. Me and Adam DeLorme, man. It was the 3rd of July. We all go out and throw this big old party out in the mountains in Colorado, about 2.5 hours away from anything, way up on some back roads. And we're chopping up some wood, man. So me and Adam are trading off blows on this on this log, both axes in our hands, just doing it across from each other. Not a good idea. That's not how you should cut up logs. Just in case anybody's listening, don't do this. And he swings down, man. And as he swung down, nothing happened, nothing hit the log. And it took a second, but I felt something hit my foot. Well, the axe blade flew off the handle perfectly, went right through my boot, right into my toe, right next to the big toe. So it chopped the big toe kind of in half, and then the next toe almost took all the way off, crushed all the way through the bones, right through the ligament and all that stuff. And the toe, basically got chopped off, man. So we had to drive 2.5 hours to a hospital. The nurse checking us in, it's the 3rd of July. She doesn't like anybody coming in at that time, it's late at night. She's just like, oh, these guys are degenerates, man, And I told her, stitch it up, that's it. Just stitch it up. I don't want x-rays. I don't want anything, man. But she's pulling out bones with tweezers, bone after bone after bone, just crushed up. And she's just looking at me like, oh, yeah, you sure you don't want an x-ray? You need freaking surgery. Like, you're not going to be able to use that toe, And it's a goddamn toe, So I just tell her, sew it up. I don't have insurance. It's going to be fine. It's only the second toe. It's all good. And she was a bitch, man. She didn't like me at all. She made me walk out of there right after she sewed it up without a wheelchair or anything. You know how they are in hospitals. If you go in there for a freaking headache, they're going to give you a wheelchair to go out on. So they wouldn't even give me a wheelchair in that spot to move out. That's how much they hated us for some reason. But yeah, that's what happened with the toe. So that was a weird one, man.
Yeah, I mean, based on you being a pro skier, having an axe blade go through your foot, and just telling him to stitch it up and fuck the consequences later on is interesting to me because your livelihood does depend on that foot. Does the toe work today?
Not perfectly. You know, it's like a stiff toe. It doesn't go up or down. But like I said, man, it's the second toe in, and that ski boot just kind of keeps it cuffed up. So it's not a big deal.
No. I mean, if it's your big toe.
If it was a big toe, I probably would have gone. I definitely would have done a little bit more. But shit will buff out, you know, as they say.
So by not having health insurance, how much do you have to pay for like a knee surgery or having bones removed from your toe when you throw an axe through it?
Well, here's the deal. When I did get knee surgeries, I was under insurance for some of those. The last one I had was actually from a car accident. A woman hit me in Salt Lake City, where if you've been to Salt Lake City, they're the worst drivers in the world. So lady hit me and I ended up having to get a meniscus fixed, you know? So that one was paid for by the car insurance. So I got lucky there. The toe, here's the deal with if you don't have insurance. They're going to cut it down in half automatically, right? So the 10 stitches were $2,000.
Wow.
Ridiculous price, man. But immediately they cut it down to $1,000. Once you say, I don't have insurance, I can't pay $2,000, right? And then I wrote in again. And I showed them my bank statements, which aren't that pretty, you know? So all of a sudden it's down less than that. Maybe $800. They took $200 off. So if I did have insurance, that wouldn't have kicked in anyway till you pay your deductible, which could be anywhere from, you know, $2,500 to $6,000. So absolutely I would have had to pay that $2,000. No question asked. No counting it down, no nothing. And I also would have been paying monthly payments. $150, $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. And then you're paying $2,000 on top of that for those stitches, like $4,000 right there. It's a shitty system. It's a horrible, horrible system. So fuck insurance, man.
Okay, that's insurance. This year has been a different year for you as you have been living in an RV and traveling all over, doing whatever you want to do. When you travel in an RV, you're staying around a lot of sketchy people. And you have to make sure you have protection on you. And I'm not talking about condoms, although they're recommended as well. When you have a lot of protection in the RV and police are called and come to the RV, that can cause a situation that's not cool. And I think that happened to you last year.
Oh, boy. It did, man. I've lived in the RV for 2 years. I actually just got rid of it. And a lot of weird stuff happens. And I was actually starting to write a book about RV life. I haven't gotten that far, but I got some good stories, man. And this is one of them, right? Me and Giray actually came out and visited me. And this chick I was hanging out with, we're all just out in the RV, vacant lot, in the back of a little railroad area. I've stayed there, you know, week at a time, and it's been fine. So we're just hanging out. Giray's off talking to this chick on the phone, his girlfriend. And I'm shooting a slingshot with this other gal. You know, we're just playing around, shooting beer cans off some curbs. And there's an alarm going off way out in the background, out half a block away. It's been going on for 45 minutes. But eventually there's a bunch of people from this football field kind of far over, looking over in our direction in the parking lot. But it's a dark parking lot. So I grabbed the slingshot. I'm like, all right, let's go in the RV for a little bit. Well, about 5 minutes later, we hear a siren come blaring up the alleyway that's separated by a fence. We're thinking it's for that alarm. Cop turns around, goes away. Okay, he's gone. Then we get surrounded by about 8 police cars. Just screeching to a halt, man. Straight up movie style. Get out of the RV. Get the fuck out of the RV. I come out first, man. Shotgun cocked up. Aimed right at me. I got a couple of handguns on me. Have to twirl around, shirt up, you know, walk backwards to them. This way, that way, back down to the knees, handcuffed up, thrown in the back of the cop car. Then, same thing to Giray. And then they saw the white chick came out and kind of died down a little bit. You know, they're like, oh, okay. Now it's a little bit more mellow. We don't got these brown. You know what I mean? But
did they put her in the cop car?
They did. And we're all in separate cop cars. I have no idea what's going on. I asked the police multiple times what we did, what we're being held there for. They just tell me it'll make sense in the end, blah, blah, blah. That's it. They don't tell me what I did, which is illegal from my understanding anyway. But then they went inside the RV. They got the dog with them. They're like full SWAT mode going into there, shotgun with a flashlight underneath. And they come out with my shotgun. So I hear that over the speaker there, like, guy's got a shotgun. Let's get it out of there, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh, I'm fucked, man. I don't even know what I'm being arrested for. And they find this in there. Then they ask what other guns I have, and I had more guns,
Yeah.
So I told them where the other gun was. And the other gun, this is going to sound bad, especially being a Muslim, AK-47. And California, AK-47 isn't necessarily the kind of weapon that California likes around those parts. So both of the guns are unregistered because I live in Colorado, Utah. Got them from either one of those states. You don't have to register your weapons, nor do I believe like you should, but that's on a different tangent. So I'm just like, I'm fucked, man. I don't even know what I did, but now they're getting me for this. They're telling us that we were walking around the parking lot with rifles in our hands, and that's why we had the police called on us, which simply wasn't true. But before this, half the cops left, and half the cops stayed with me, and they took our pictures, took pictures of my eyes, all that kind of stuff, asking me all these questions. And then eventually they told my little brother that there was a guy with a shotgun who was holding up where he used to work. Like a pissed off ex-worker went up into his spot with a shotgun. So instead of all those cops going over there taking care of that situation, they stayed with me, even though that's why the cops were probably calling in the first place. But they had to make up an excuse, and this is what I believe. So they said we were walking around there with guns. Long story short, man, they confiscated the guns, and I haven't seen them since.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does kind of suck, man. Because I did run into situations afterwards, being in the RV, where I would have felt a lot safer having just that shotgun,
Yeah, I can imagine RV living brings out every kind of different character in the world.
Yeah, a lot of meth heads.
Yeah.
A lot of meth heads.
Well, they're good labs from what I see on TV and stuff. They actually are the perfect size and they have the right equipment in there. So, functional tool.
Yeah.
I was going to talk to you about concussions and a bunch of other things, but we're running long. So what I'm going to talk to you about now is the project that you're working on and you've just launched. It's La Fam Channel, and that's your website. And I look at you as a kid growing up on New Schoolers who has gotten all of his media from this one place. And now you're creating something that to me looks like it could be a competitor of New Schoolers. Tell us what your project and your dream with it is.
Well, the idea is to have New Schoolers fits a certain niche, right? I mean, New Schoolers has always been an amazing thing that we've had, amazing tool for people to come up through there, get recognition, and not be a professional per se, So it's always been more of a social type of thing. La Fam, I want to be more of that upper echelon of things where it's all the best guys in the industry putting down the stuff. And I want it to be a spot where media doesn't get drained out so quickly, because that's what I'm seeing as a folly in free skiing right now. A video goes up that people spend a long time on, out in the backcountry or out in the streets or out wherever. And then all of a sudden that video is off that main page in the first day, the second day, or the third day. That video is gone. It's never to be watched again. It's just gone basically in the cloud,
Yeah.
And it's replaced by just Breckenridge Parkheaded or Keystone Parkheaded. And I'm not shitting on New Schoolers. This is just, it's a cool thing that New Schoolers has, is that other people can all be involved in it. Well, I want to keep those best edits up there on top, able to be seen longer. And then I have the different archives of those different top skiers on there. So if anybody wants to see something from that guy particularly, they can go on his thing and check out all of his videos. So it's easy now to research those people you like and see all that stuff just with the click of a finger. And then the different years of skiing. So you can have it all mixed up in the different years that we've seen skiing progress. And for me, I think it's very important for a sport to grow by knowing the past of that sport. You got to have roots to have a healthy tree. You got to have good roots. So I think kids should be paying a lot of attention to where they came from. So putting a lot of the older guys that paved the way for us to be where we're at today is super important in my mind. And I think they got lost in everything. So I want to kind of bring that back, and I want to have a good media channel where I can talk to people and not expect to get sponsored dollars off that talk. I'm not going to interview this guy because his sponsors are paying me to interview that guy, which I see is kind of the other huge folly in free skiing right now. And you see it a lot from Free Skier magazine. I mean, that magazine's paid off. So a lot of people that are coming up through skiing right now, a lot of these really, really dope kids that deserve a lot of attention are not able to get that anymore because simply their sponsors are not able to pay those dollars to be involved in those media sites. So I'm just going on the vice versa route. I know all these kids, I know most of them, and I can relate to all of them. So I want to be able to show that to all these different people and just have a spot where different guys can kind of get some traction in their career. So hopefully it just gets bigger and better, and I got a lot more ideas to involve in here. So it's still an evolving site day to day, week to week, but month to month is going to be huge, I think. And year to year, I got some cool ideas. So yeah, it is a competitive site, and I think we need a competitive site to those other ones.
Sounds like it's the premium content from the past, present, and future of the pro skier. At this point in the show, I have something called Inappropriate Questions. And what I do with Inappropriate Questions is I find someone that you know.
Yeah, I was scared of this.
I have them ask 3 questions to you. And if you are scared of it, you should be extra scared because you are actually getting 6 inappropriate questions.
Oh, come on.
Yep, that's just how it worked this week. So my first inappropriate questions are going to come from a guy that you grew up with. His name is Andy Parry. He's about as weird as it gets in a great way.
Oh, if you got Andy, I know it's going to be an inappropriate question, man.
His were kind of weak, I wasn't too impressed. I'm with Andy Parry of the Traveling Circus. Andy grew up with Ahmet, and Andy, you're going to ask the 3 inappropriate questions, and I hope you're not very tame when you do this and you get a little loose. And do you have question number 1 ready for Ahmet?
Question number 1 is, how many girls have you slept with?
So, as non-imaginative as possible. And if you want to answer the question, answer it. If not, you don't have to.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend for a long time, man. Like 7 years.
Over or under 15?
Over.
Over or under 30?
Well, under.
Okay.
So, there we go.
We are going to go into question number 2.
How many times have you been arrested?
Another quick one. How many times have you been arrested?
Actually arrested and brought to jail twice.
What did you do?
Assault, and I don't want to talk about the other one.
Fair enough. I'm not going to pressure you if you don't want to talk about it. We'll say the first one you were really mad, and the second one we won't talk about, and we will go into question number 3.
How many times have you shit off a bridge?
How many times have you shit off a bridge? But I also hear that we should say how many times have you shit in a parking lot, a parking garage, or a bridge?
That's what I was going to tell you, was there's been many different spots. I've done about 2 bridges. Andy saw me do it off of 1. Weird spots, we used to shit in front of our high school, in the soccer fields, between the goal lines. Just kind of anywhere, man. Let's go higher than 10, less than 20.
And was this just something you thought was funny in high school that's kind of stuck with you, or is it just something where you had to go?
Yeah, dude, it's hilarious, man. You're shitting in front of the school you hate.
I see it there with the school.
Yeah, but, I haven't done it in a long time. I still think it's a funny thing. And when the opportunity presents itself and I'm around the right friends, it might happen again. Who knows?
Okay. There we go. Now we're going to jump into the next one. And I've got Ahmet's brother, Giray, here. Am I pronouncing that right?
That's right, Giray.
Everybody must pronounce it wrong. I pronounced it right. I'm psyched on that. And Giray, we normally don't do 2 sets of inappropriate questions, but we're going to do it this week. And do you have your first inappropriate question ready for your brother?
Yeah. I want to know, over all of these years, how many times that you've missed an international flight due to hooking up with some chick.
This one's all about hooking up, so it doesn't mean you had to have sex with this girl, but how many times have you missed a flight because you were hooking up with someone? Girl or guy?
Not that many. Only 2, man. It was pretty brutal. The first one was cost me about $700, and the second one cost me every single one of my air miles where I was flying for free at first. So that sucked, man. I don't recommend it. Get sleep. Who cares? The chick will still be there later.
Yeah, and if you really need to, you can always take care of yourself and not miss the flight because it's usually a lot quicker.
We have two hands. Yeah.
Now we'll go into your brother's second question for you.
Does that have to be about like his thoughts on other people, or, keep the shit talk to a minimum and just keep it like,
It could be whatever you want it to be, whatever will make him uncomfortable and answer the question. So, have you ever wondered why he did anything to you?
He's done quite a few things. It's always funny, like, when he's trying to convince me to go fishing. I always bring up this worm thing where he used to, like, I'm 2 years younger than him.
Okay.
And he'd just go make me dig up the worms. Or he'd, like, break his fishing pole and shit and then take my fishing pole.
Older brother stuff?
The older brother shit, man.
So would the question be, he is the older brother, and growing up, yes, he could tell you what to do and make you do things, but nowadays, Giray is way bigger, and in the family dynamic, can the older brother still kick the younger brother's ass?
That's going to be provocative for him. He's all like trying to be Laird Hamilton, big surfer. So he's always trying to flex.
There we go. Who wins in this family dynamic? Because the older brother's always supposed to have the edge, but you're the small one. Do you still have the edge?
I think I'm a scrappy little dude, man. So yes, but he's got some long arms, man. He can swing. So I think it'd be a good fight. I'll give him that. It'd be a good fight, but yeah, I'll still whoop his ass.
I feel like the older brother can always go to dirty tricks and do whatever it takes to beat the little brother. That's just kind of how life works.
Yeah.
We're going to go with our final question.
Who do you think is the biggest pussy in all of free skiing?
Ooh. Damn.
So he's not asking you to call somebody out. He is asking you to call somebody out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big call out, man. I'm going to be lame, man. I don't even know. I haven't really concerned myself with other skiers much, Like, I don't got much judgment on it. I got a really lame answer here.
Well, we can switch the question. Who do you not like in free skiing?
I like everybody, man.
Who has wronged you?
I hate Free Skier magazine, bro. If that helps at all, I think that shit's whack. So let's go with that being a person.
I will say in their credit that I think they hired some new people and it should have a different look and feel maybe.
We'll see when we see it. They always hire new people.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. It sounds like you were about to get on a plane. And when I say about, I mean in 36 hours. You thought you were about to get on a plane, but you're not.
Not going to miss this flight.
Yeah, don't miss this one. I love the fact that you're one of the East Coast kids that changed the game. I mean, you look at the traveling circus crew, you and your brother, and there were some people before you for sure, but you were that maybe second, third wave of people that really made a difference in free skiing, and it's been awesome to see, and keep doing your thing, man. Keep being you.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate that, man. And what you're doing for everybody in the free skiing and sports in general is awesome, dude. So keep these podcasts up, and I'm going to keep listening.
So that was time with Ahmet Dadali. It's always refreshing when someone doesn't have a filter, and Ahmet really doesn't. Probably gets him in a little bit of trouble here and there. It's not the best way to please sponsors or industry folk, but I don't think Ahmet cares about pleasing people. He does what he likes, and he does what's the best for skiing. And right now in his world, the best for skiing is La Fam Channel, his website, so please check that out. He is putting a ton of his time and effort into documenting the history of the pro skier, and it is pretty awesome. That's the show for this week. I'll be back on Monday with another amazing guest. Until then, please give me a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen to me on. If you're on an iPhone, it takes a minute, and here's what you need to do. Go to podcasts on your iPhone or iTunes, search for the Powell Movement, scroll down to where you see the stars, hit 5 stars, and you're done. Thank you so much for doing it, and thanks for listening. I really need to thank my sponsors as well for making this possible. They are Evo, Rescue Water, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. Have a great week, everyone.